What is happening, folks? Episode 3 here live with Connor. Currently works at the Blackstone LaunchPad at MSU and has a startup called Windsor LLC. We're about to drop it live here in the sub-union of Montana State University. Welcome back, everyone. It's Ben Nelson with the Tech Intern Show here. Today I have with me Connor Harbison. He works at the Blackstone LaunchPad here at Montana State University and also has a startup called Windsor LLC. We'll get into him in a minute, but I just want to thank everyone for tuning back in. It means so much to me. This is episode 3 of the Tech Intern Show, so we're just getting things started here. Thanks for joining us, and it should be really exciting. I've got some great guests like Connor and some other great individuals from Bozeman coming on this week, so lots of content coming soon. We're going to be sitting on a lot, and I cannot wait to release it. Enough of the introduction. Connor, I'm going to drop it to you, and let's get started.
Sure thing. Thank you so much for having me on, Ben. This is super cool. I've never really done anything like this, so I think this is going to be a bit of an adventure. I'm stoked to be the third guest ever. That's kind of groundbreaking, I think.
I love it.
Just awesome that you're doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
So what do I do? So the Blackstone LaunchPad is an office at Montana State University that helps students, alumni, faculty, and staff start businesses. So you can be anyone from a freshman who just watched Shark Tank and it's like, that's kind of cool, to a PhD candidate who knows more about microprocessors or something super technical than anybody else in the world, and you want to commercialize that research. Anyone and everyone connected to MSU can come in, get a free consultation, totally confidential, and we've got a great staff here. We have graphic designers, we've got computer programmers, we have people who do videos, we've got financial planners. I do outreach, so I go and talk.
Nice.
The line I always give is I get coffee and beer with smart people.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
So I go out and I talk and I make friends and I make connections and I say, oh, you got to meet this person, or they have to meet you, or you both will have a lot of cool things to talk about.
I love that.
And just sort of build the community that way through human interactions. And we actually have a really great marketing team and social media, and they do something similar to me, but I'm more of the like shake a hand, sit across from somebody and have a conversation.
Right.
So that's what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Networking seems to be like a really big part. And it's also the reason why I started the Tech Intern Show. And I've met some great individuals like you in the Bozeman area. And so I want to bring those people on and talk about what they do best. So let's get into a little bit about entrepreneurship. Touched on the Blackstone LaunchPad a bit. I've realized throughout my time at MSU, which is very brief, my second semester here, that the LaunchPad is the go-to spot for an aspiring young professional and entrepreneur to kind of lay the groundwork for what they want to see happen. And I think it's one of the many incredible resources that Montana State has to offer. And so I think telling people a little bit more about what the Blackstone LaunchPad is would be a good go.
Yeah, so the Blackstone LaunchPad was founded here on campus a few years ago, and it was founded by a grant from the Blackstone Group, which is a financial advising group. But there are actually only 26 Blackstone LaunchPads in the world, 23 here in the U.S. And 3 in Ireland. Wow. So the fact that Montana State has this center is pretty unique.
Right.
And it's not just, hey, we have this network of other LaunchPads. We're connected to Blackstone with financial services. We're also powered by Techstars. So Techstars is a huge accelerator network. Sure. They have all of these accelerators. They run startup weekends and startup weeks. So that's a huge network for us to tap into.
Nice.
And then here at MSU, we also have an accelerator of our own, 406 Labs.
Right.
And you can sort of think of an accelerator as like grad school for a startup. It's really focused.
That's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really focused. You have to apply. It's sort of like, hey, we're going to do 2 years of work in 3 months. And we are part of a group called the Global Accelerator Network, who have about 120 accelerators all over the world.
Sure.
They're based in Denver, but I've been to their members, their other members, our fellow members in Pittsburgh, in Prague, in Austin, Texas. I'm going to Barbados this May through a connection I made there. So
wow.
that's not every LaunchPad has the Global Accelerator Network. That's MSU.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exceptional. See, a great resource for students. And do you get a lot of just Bozeman community members that have entrepreneurial spirit and come in here and are connected to MSU, like you said, and will seek out some guidance?
Yeah, actually, probably about 80% of our clients, so to speak, are students, just because we are located on campus here in the Strand Union building.
Sure.
But we actually have done a partnership with the Bozeman Public Library and the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center.
Yeah.
And we do mentoring hours every other Tuesday at the public library. We actually just had 3 businesses yesterday I met with down there. And now we sort of gave them next steps, like, hey, you got to talk to this person, look up this thing, this is the form you need.
Wow.
And passing them from the library, which already has such a great impact on the Bozeman community, into the more focused business community.
Wow.
And these were people who were like, I have an awesome idea, I'm super passionate about it, I just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
It's like, great, we want to help you.
Super valid question, right? I think, again, with my time in Bozeman being so limited, but so many different individuals with so many different stories and so many impactful messages, I feel like sort of the networking, tech, but also just like professional community here is outstanding. And we connected through a LinkedIn local event in the fall.
Yeah.
And we've attended both multiple throughout the past couple of months or so. And your speech a couple events ago on generating social capital was super interesting, and I'll link that below. Talk to me a little bit about sort of the Bozeman Professional Network and then sort of the importance of a strong network within entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so one of the things I love about entrepreneurship is it has such a strong give back culture. There is social pressure that once you've made it, once you've gotten to that place where you've raised a huge venture round, or you've exited, or you've made it.
Yeah,
you are expected to give back, not necessarily monetarily, but
sure.
Like, hey, give your time, give your expertise, make connections for people. Give a hand to the next group coming up.
That's great.
And that is so concentrated here in Bozeman because we only just passed 50,000 people as a town. I would say the business community, the startup community, is probably less than 1,000 people. So everybody sort of knows everybody, and you go to the same events like LinkedIn Local.
Right. You
start to see the same faces, and if you make a bad impression, or if you rub someone the wrong way, or if you even go out of your way to mess them up or to hurt their business or something,
sure,
that's going to be remembered not just by them, but everybody in the community.
Yeah.
And I mean, in a place as small as Bozeman, that has real consequences in that, like, oh, they're a bad sheep, don't work with them. But I think it's just a good rule of thumb, like, don't go in with sharp elbows. Like, help other people, even if you don't know how exactly this is going to pay back for you.
Yeah.
Because they might help you down the road, or they might not, and that's okay.
Yeah, right. There's a quote by an entrepreneur, Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you follow him, but Gary V is what his brand is. And he said, being rude might win at halftime, but kindness will always win the game.
I think that's 100% correct.
I think you live by that, and I live by that as well. And I see that in the entrepreneurship community. It's like very helping hand. And obviously what you do at the LaunchPad is like helping people fulfill their dreams and just like running them through the program and whatnot. Yeah. So I find that super cool. And obviously the network is a big part of just professional development. And we've got tools like LinkedIn and local events like that. And just like reaching out to people like you and just sitting down and being like, I want to connect with this person. And I think that's valuable stuff.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about Bozeman is nobody works in their office.
Yeah, you're right.
The coffee shop culture here is incredible.
It is.
So it's just like, hey, meet me at Rockford, meet me at the Daily, meet me at Zocalo,
Yeah.
And then you'll always see somebody else and it's like, hey, good to see you. Oh, I'm talking to this person. Oh, you know them too? Great. It's so like invigorating. It's so invigorating, and I always love that. And like, maybe it's like, you guys got to meet.
You're right. You've spoken to like my last 4 weekends at Treeline Coffee.
Yeah.
It's just like bumping into Auste and then bumping
Yeah.
into someone else from
Yeah.
MSU. And like, I'm like, wait, how does this all happen in coffee shops in Bozeman?
So that's so interesting that Treeline on Main is your place, or the original
Wallace.
Treeline? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
The original.
Cool. Yeah. I personally like the Daily on North Rouse. I never.
Kind of in the area.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's very similar. I like the Daily on North Rouse. I don't schedule meetings there. That's sort of where I go on the weekends. It's like that's where I go to do work.
Nice.
Yeah, but I love International Coffee Traders. My new place on campus is Norms because I just love that place.
How incredible a building.
Yeah.
I interviewed Jack in there.
Nice.
Like so clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that's a neat spot.
So that's my new go-to on-campus coffee place. But you can't go wrong. Cold smoke, it's great.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love it. Strong network, entrepreneurship. So let's talk a little bit about Windsor LLC.
Yeah.
I know it may be a pretty recent thing, but I want to kind of get your take on what the startup is and then sort of like the bulk of maybe some challenges or successes that you've had along the way. I think that that's important for at least people like me to hear who are interested in starting their own thing and kind of learning from others by doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so just a word on my background. I went to the University of Pittsburgh and got a degree in European history. So if you want to talk about so I went to school to learn how to be really good at talking about like why the Soviet Union fell apart.
Right. Yeah.
If you want to talk about that for days, I can. What I didn't go to school for was how to start a tech business. So about a year ago, I started thinking about this. I get a lot of coffee meetings. That's what I do. I love meeting people, sitting down with them face to face. I think a one-on-one meeting is the most productive you can be. But all the emailing that goes into it, hey, does Wednesday work for you? Oh, no, Tuesday. Okay, 11, no, not that time. This coffee shop, no, that coffee. I hate that.
Right.
And I started thinking, well, how can we make that quicker? So it's just a couple clicks and we're sitting down, right? How can we use technology to improve the human experience?
Right.
And I thought, okay, I'm going to do something, meeting-wise, and people like Calendly, Schedulicity.
That's where my mind goes.
But what they kept saying to me was like, you know what I really hate doing, though? Writing email introductions. Like, all right, my customers are telling me something. So I started working on that, and this was about a year ago. And I spoke to probably about 150 people. And it wasn't just I went out on the street, and this was over probably 8 or 9 months.
Wow.
I was just, 8 or 9 months, I would say. And it would just be like, hey, we're meeting about something else. And like, oh, and by the way, do you ever make email introductions? And a lot of times they'd be like, no, I don't do that. All right.
Yeah.
But sometimes they'd be like, yeah, I do. And I don't like them. Or, okay, what don't you like about them? Or like, what would you like to see?
Yeah.
And I slowly narrowed to this idea. I was originally calling it Bowtie, and I rebranded to Windsor, WINDSR. So Windsor is a software tool that makes it easier for you to make email introductions. Basically, rescue your time from email, let Windsor introduce you to the world. So as it goes right now, I might say, hey, Ben, could you introduce me to one of your other awesome guests? You would reach out to them. Hey, this guy Connor wants to meet you. They'd get back to you. You'd connect me to them. And that's a lot of work for you. And I'm getting all the benefit.
Yeah, sure.
So what Windsor does, you go on, you plug in a few pieces of information, who you are, what you're looking for, why you want to meet them. And it takes that info and writes you an email, right? So I don't have to know, I'm a young professional. I don't always know the right thing to write. That's okay. Windsor's going to do it for you. I can then send that to you, Ben. And that way, you aren't introducing me. I'm introducing me.
Yeah,
And
through me.
Through you. So
Sure.
you get to pass along the intro to the person I want to meet. And you get to be the gatekeeper. So you might say, you know what? They just got a huge promotion. You know what? They just had a kid. You know what? They've had a crazy quarter. It's not a good time. Or you can say, this is excellent. This is perfect. Pass it along. And then they get to review my info without ever being in an awkward situation where you just throw us on a thread and say, see ya.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So at every stage, each user is empowered. In January of this year, so about 4 months ago, right? 4 months ago, yeah. I started teaching myself to code. And I took about 2 months, and I learned to build this very specific thing. And then I put it out, and I have a few users. I'm actually working on the second version because I think I think I can make it, or I know I can make it much smoother, and it can really improve the process. Right now, I have it as a web app, so you can go to windsor.com and see it. And there will be a Chrome extension, so you can install this in Chrome. You click, you fill it out, and it pulls the info right into Gmail if you do use Gmail.
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't have other email clients, so Outlook is down the road.
Yeah.
And then I think over the summer I will be building a Slack bot. So the idea is you're in Slack, you type in, "Hey Windsor bot," and they say, "Hey, how can I help you? I want to meet this person." Great. What do you want to learn from them? I want to do this. And then it'll pull all that together and do the same thing as Windsor in email,
genius.
but over Slack.
It's
Thank you.
genius. Yeah, I use Slack at Zenovo now, and it's like the absolutely optimal tool to communicate client to client or internal teams or just with other employees. It's like absolutely perfect. So we built a Slack bot, just like an internal stand-up. But the Slack bot thing where you're going is like super neat. That's super, super, super cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to watch you grow with that. And I love how you touched on like the refinement piece.
Oh, yeah.
Like version 2. And so are you the only person working on it?
Yeah, so I certainly have consulted with, like I said, probably 150 people. And
You did your research.
That's all the way from, "Hey, what do you think about this idea?" "No, that won't work."
Yeah.
Okay. All the way to multiple meetings with some of my closer mentors. I have some friends here at the LaunchPad, specifically graphic designers, who've been very helpful.
That's awesome.
I have some friends who are coders, much more talented than I am, who can say, "Oh, don't do that, do this." And I can go and learn it myself.
Sure.
But it has been a fun process. And I would just say, like, for everyone out there who's like, "Oh, I have this cool idea," just go learn it. Just go do it. There's a ton of tools. I specifically use W3 Schools, w3schools.com. They have so many just little tutorials, and you can learn like how to add a button to your page.
Yeah, right.
And then how to add like a border around it, and then how to add a little typing form, and then like you just add those little building blocks, and then you have something really cool.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm taking an intro to web design class, and
Nice.
we use HTML and CSS, but W3 Schools is like the go-to spot. So super good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
What's been sort of, you're really early on in the process of things with Windsor, and so it's pretty fresh with you, but what do you think has been the biggest challenge with sort of this whole startup thing? Do you think it more revolves around your research or kind of the direction of what you want the app to look like? Kind of talk a little bit about that.
I'd say the biggest thing is like I don't know where I need to go.
Okay.
I'm pretty good at research. That's what I did in undergrad.
Yeah.
I'm like, put me in front of a laptop on Google, I can pretty much find whatever information I need. And so much of coding is like knowing the right thing to Google.
Right.
It's more like, okay, I built this thing. Now, what's the rollout strategy? And I've learned that by doing the wrong thing when when I first launched it, like, oh, the link doesn't work. Oh, and then like this security thing, and then and it's just super, super up and down. It's like when you, especially, I think the first time I really grasped coding, that I like was training wheels off, I was in a coffee shop, like sitting in the middle of the place, and like it's like, okay, this isn't working. Here's the problem. I think this is the solution. Let me make the change, reload it, and it worked. And I was like, yes. Like and I was like, oh, I can't do this.
You're like, sorry.
Yeah. But it is such an empowering feeling when like you think this is the thing and you do it and it works.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for touching on Windsor and some of your challenges and networking, entrepreneurship, kind of wove it all in there.
Yeah.
So I love all that. Thank you for your point of view. Into the final segment of the Tech Intern Show, I like to call the final round.
Yeah.
Just 4 quick questions, 15, 30 second, and 1 minute answers. Just kind of like get the full scheme of things, Connor. First question for you: what's been your favorite entrepreneurship moment you've had throughout your career?
Probably in Boulder Startup Week last year. I volunteered to sit at one of the tables, like giving out information. That was very cool. And they were like, "Here's a shirt," so that was cool. But then it started just torrential downpouring, right? And I was like, "Oh darn! I have to be like across town for this happy hour event." So I ran through this like just absolutely drowning. I looked like a drowned rat.
Yeah.
And I arrived, and I didn't know the people I was meeting there. It was actually the GAN folks, the Global Accelerator Network.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And they had their shirts on. I was like, "Hi, my name's Connor. I think we're..." And they're, "Connor, come on in, have some nachos. Like, here's a beer. Come on in." I was like, "We've never met. We've never been on emails. But like, my people know your people, or like my people are your people, and vice versa."
Wow.
And it was just like the most welcome I have felt in such a long time.
That's awesome.
So yeah, sorry if that was
that's like
15 seconds.
That's like a perfect answer. Yeah, that community can be really special.
Oh, it's amazing. The startup community is so much fun and just so amazing.
Yeah.
I could talk for this whole podcast about great stories.
I love it.
Yeah.
Best thing about living in Bozeman?
So I grew up in the middle of Philadelphia. I used to say I was like the Fresh Prince. I was born in West Philadelphia. So Bozeman is by far the smallest place I've lived. It's really cool seeing, like I said earlier, at the coffee shops, seeing people I know all over the place.
Sure.
Just the access to outdoors is awesome. Growing up in cities, it was like, oh, got to go an hour or two to get to nature.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like Bozeman's such a fun place. Everybody has their own thing that's going on, like running a podcast or making a little web app, or
Yeah, right.
Everybody has their own thing, and everybody's super passionate about everything. And there's great coffee, there's great beer, there's good restaurants, there's great hiking. It's fun.
Yeah, it's the place to be.
It is. It
I love
really
it.
is.
Yeah. I like to ask this question. I phrased it a little differently, but most interesting thing on your bucket list, or the most incredible thing that you want to do?
So I want to hike either to Everest Base Camp or Annapurna Circuit after I graduate business school.
Wow.
Because I'm terrified of heights. No, that's not true. I'm terrified of falling. When I went skydiving, I was like, oh, okay, this is supposed to happen. Cool. But like when I get out on a balcony, I was like, but it might fall. So
yeah, right.
So I could never climb Everest, but I could do Everest Base Camp. But I've heard it's a little, it's the garbage buildup is kind of bad. So I don't know. Some big hike in Nepal. That's sort of.
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last question, big one here. What's more important, being intelligent or being coachable?
Coachable. Yeah. Because coachable or teachable, or however you want to phrase that, is you have the ability to accept advice from someone who has done this before.
Right.
You could be the smartest person in the world, and you could probably, bulldoze your way through whatever the thing is, whether that's figuring out how an audio thing works,
right,
or like molecular biology or something crazy like that. You could probably get through, but if you open yourself up to other people helping you and other mentors and really seeking those people out, you're gonna accelerate your learning so much. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So coachable.
It's that growth mindset.
Oh, it's so important.
Right?
So important.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that is episode 3 for you folks. Connor, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. And
thank you.
Your thoughts on entrepreneurship and networking and Bozeman in general. It's kind of the place to be for all the stuff happening right now.
We have fun here. We have fun here.
And best of luck with your endeavors with the LaunchPad and also Windsor. I'm excited to see version 2.
Oh, it's exciting.
That should be awesome.
It's exciting. It looks slick.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Ben. Really appreciate it.